Well, joining us next from East London is Patrick English from YouGov. Thank you very much for being on the programme. And Patrick, it's now over to the Conservative Party members, isn't it? You've been doing some polling recently, taking the temperature of where their heads are at. Who do you think would win the race between Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss? Now we know the final two.
Well, certainly right now, our polling is suggesting that as it stands, Liz Truss has about a 20-point lead over Rishi Sunak heading into any sort of contest. So Rishi Sunak certainly has a lot to do. His position improved somewhat in between the polling that we managed to publish yesterday and the polling from last week. But certainly right now, we would say that Liz Truss is the front runner among Conservative Party members.
How volatile a group are they? Because it does feel as if there's been lots of fluctuations, even in the last week or so, about who their preferred candidates are.
Oh, 100%, absolutely. So in the most recent polling, Liz Truss appeared to have the upper hand, particularly in those head-to-heads. The time before that, Penny Mordaunt was a clear favourite among Conservative Party members, and then just a week before that, it was Ben Wallace. Flashback to January, Rishi Sunak was the one who was way ahead with the membership, and Liz Truss was in his wake. So certainly it is a very volatile membership. Certainly I would say it's all to play for, but heading into the contest, heading into the summer, is Liz Truss who does have that upper hand according to our figures.
It always looked like Rishi Sunak was going to make it onto the final ballot. Do you think he's got an easier or a more difficult opponent facing Liz Truss than he would have if Penny Mordaunt got through?
Well, certainly according to our polling, Liz Truss is a more difficult candidate for Rishi Sunak to face. If we look at the head-to-heads we published yesterday, Liz Truss, as I say, had a 20-point lead over Rishi Sunak. If we look at Penny Mordaunt, that lead was cut down to 15, and Rishi Sunak improved his position over Penny Mordaunt considerably in between those two polls. So I think if looking ahead, Rishi Sunak will probably much rather have faced Penny Mordaunt in the runoff. Liz Truss probably is a stronger candidate for him to have to face in that regard, yes.
And I'm not sure if this is something that you've looked into, but are there any specific issues that you think Rishi Sunak would have to deal with if he is to have a shot at winning over the Conservative Party membership? Are they, for example, a group of people who tend to be worried about, taxation or the economy or spending? What is it?
Absolutely. So we've been asking Conservative members what it is that they really want from their next leader and the next Prime Minister and the next person to take on Keir Starmer at the next general election. And what they've been telling us is that they want a return to sort of conventional conservatism. So that's things like cutting tax and spending. And I think at the moment, perhaps one thing that's holding Rishi Sunak back is his, let's say, lukewarm commitment to cutting taxes. Certainly at the moment, he's saying he wants to get control of inflation first and then think about cutting taxes, whereas all of the other candidates were offering tax-cutting platforms. So I think certainly that's an area that might be hurting him with membership right now, and he might need to look at that and see what he can do in terms of making a different kind of offer. But yes, they are looking at tax and spending. They're also looking at things like returning to honesty and integrity and having a strong personality. So there are other things that the candidates could choose to campaign on, but taxing and spending and in general kind of return to that conventional conservatism is a popular theme that we're getting from the Conservative members that we're polling right now.
And how different an electorate are they from the public at large? Because it is interesting, isn't it, that a relatively small group of people effectively get to choose the next Prime Minister?
Yes, it is indeed. They are, as will not be surprising at all, quite a different tribe to the general public at large. The general public is very split on whether there should be tax cuts versus more spending on public services or sort of properly funding, I guess, public services, whereas the Conservative Party members are much more in favour of tax cuts. So it is a very, let's say, a niche electorate to be appealing to. And I think the candidates will have to think about that as the campaigns start to draw to a close. And perhaps the members will start thinking about that as well. It's all very well and good appealing directly to the membership, but if those pictures are going directly against the grain of public opinion in the general public and the voting public at large, that might run them into some trouble looking ahead to the general election. So I think what we might expect to see is perhaps some heads turn toward the general public and some of the debate turn toward maybe sort of wider economic issues and cost of living will go down so very well, and the public are desperate to hear about it at the minute as the campaign goes on.
Okay, interesting stuff. Patrick English there of YouGov.